Captain Jake Morrison stood at the airlock of the ancient alien station and felt the weight of his dying world pressing on his shoulders. Behind him, his crew of 12 humans waited in silence. They were the last hope for Earth, and everyone knew it. The war against the Krull Empire had been going on for 3 years now, and humanity was losing badly. Every battle brought more death. Every week another colony fell. The crystalline warriors of the Krull Empire swept through human space like a storm that could not be stopped. Their weapons cut through Earth ships like paper. Their armor could not be broken by human guns. Intelligence reports said that somewhere in this abandoned station there was a weapon so powerful it could change everything. A weapon that could save Earth from total destruction. Jake took a deep breath and opened the airlock. The air inside the station was old and stale, but breathable. His team moved in behind him with weapons ready and eyes scanning every shadow. The station had been built by a race called the Architects. Nobody knew what happened to them. They had vanished from the galaxy thousands of years ago. All that remained were their empty stations floating in space like metal ghosts. The corridors were massive. Each hallway could fit 3 Earthships side by side. The walls were covered in symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. Jake led his team deeper into the station, following the map they had stolen from a Krull database. Hours passed as they moved through the endless maze of corridors. The station seemed to go on forever. Then they found it, a massive door at the end of a long hallway. The door was covered in runes that pulsed. With blue and gold light, it was sealed tight, and no amount of cutting tools could open it. But as Jake approached, something strange happened. The runes began to glow brighter. The door recognized him somehow. It recognized that a living being stood before it. With a sound like thunder, the door split open. Beyond it was a chamber so large that Jake could not see the far wall. And in the center of that chamber was something that made his heart stop. A woman floated in a column of frozen light. Her eyes were closed. Her silver hair drifted around her as if she was underwater. She wore armor that looked like it was made from starlight itself, and coiled around her was a dragon. The creature was enormous. Its scales shifted between black and deep red. Its wings were folded tight against its body. Its eyes were closed like hers, both of them, hung suspended in time itself. Jake moved closer with slow, careful steps. His crew spread out around the chamber with weapons raised. Nobody knew what to make of this. They had come seeking a weapon. Instead, they found a woman and her dragon locked in some kind of prison. Jake could see something else now. A crystal seal embedded in the center of the woman chest. It pulsed with dark light. Runes swirled around it like living things. As Jake stared at the seal, words began to form in the air. They were not in any language he knew, but somehow he could understand them. The last daughter of Etherwin, sealed for the crime of mercy, punishment, eternal imprisonment. Jake reached out his hand toward the seal. The moment his fingers came close, the woman's eyes snapped open. They were violet like deep space itself. Her voice filled his mind without sound. It was weak but urgent and desperate. Human, I sense your desperation. I am Lyra, and this is Ember. Take me with you. Do not remove this seal. Not yet I will be your weapon, but the price of my freedom must be paid in full, or we all perish. Jake jerked his hand back. The woman, Lyra, was staring at him with those impossible eyes. Behind her, the dragon called Ember began to stir. Its massive head lifted slowly. One golden eye opened and fixed on Jake. The intelligence in that eye was terrifying. This was not an animal. This was something ancient and powerful and aware. Jake turned to his crew. Lieutenant Amy Carter stood nearby with her weapon pointed at the sealed woman. Amy, what do you think? Amy's face was pale. Sir, this is beyond anything we expected. We came for a weapon and we found a prisoner. The question is, why was she imprisoned? What crime could require this kind of punishment? Jake looked back at Lyra. She was still watching him. Her expression was calm, but he could see pain in her eyes, pain that had lasted for a very long time. The seal on her chest pulsed again. More text appeared in the air. Warning. Breaking the stasis field will alert the wardens. Proceed with caution. Jake made his decision. He could not leave empty-handed. Earth needed something, anything to survive. If this woman and her dragon could help, then he had to take that chance. He reached for the control panel beside the stasis field. His fingers found ancient buttons that should not work for human hands, but they responded to his touch. The stasis field began to flicker. Lyra's eyes widened. The dragon ember growled low and deep. The sound shook the entire chamber. Then the field collapsed. Lyra and Ember fell toward the floor. The dragon spread its wings at the last second. The movement was so fast, Jake could barely follow it. Ember caught Lyra gently in his claws and landed with a boom that cracked the floor. The dragon was even more massive outside the stasis field. His head alone was bigger than Jake's entire body. Lyra climbed down from Ember back. She was unsteady on her feet. 800 years in stasis had left her weak, but she was still beautiful in a way that seemed impossible. She looked at Jake and spoke aloud this time. Her voice was like music. "You have freed us from stasis, human. You have my thanks. But you have also triggered something you do not understand. The wardens will come now. They exist only to keep me imprisoned. If we do not leave immediately, we will all die here," as if her words had summoned them. Alarms began to shriek through the station. Red light flooded the chamber. The floor began to shake. From the walls and ceiling, huge machines began to emerge. They were made of the same metal as the station, but covered in the same runes that marked Lyra's seal. The wardens had arrived, and they were already attacking. Ember roared and unleashed a blast of flame. The fire was not normal. It burned blue and white and seemed to erase whatever it touched. 3 wardens melted in seconds, but more kept coming. Lyra raised her hand and spoke words in a language that hurt to hear. The runes on her body glowed bright. A wave of force erupted from her palm. It knocked back a dozen wardens at once, but Jake saw the cost. The seal on her chest flared with dark light. Lyra gasped in pain. Blood ran from her nose. She was fighting at only a fraction of her true power, and it was slowly killing her. Jake grabbed his radio. "All units fall back to the ship now. We are leaving." His crew did not need to be told twice. They ran for the exit with the wardens in pursuit. Lyra and Ember fought a running battle through the corridors. The dragon moved with impossible grace for something so large. He seemed to phase through walls when needed. His flames carved paths through the metal. Lyra directed their escape with quiet commands. She knew this station somehow. She knew where to go. Minutes felt like hours. The station was collapsing around them. Finally, they burst through the airlock. Jake's ship, the Valiant, waited in the docking bay. The crew scrambled aboard. Ember had to shrink somehow to fit through the cargo doors. Magic, Jake thought wildly. This is actual magic. Once everyone was aboard, Jake hit the launch sequence. The Valiant tore away from the station just as it exploded behind them. Pieces of ancient metal scattered into space. Jake set course for hyperspace. They had to get far away before the crawl detected them. In the cargo hold, Lyra collapsed against Ember's side. The dragon curled protectively around her. His eyes watched Jake with what might have been gratitude or warning. Jake could not tell. He walked over to them slowly. Lyra looked up at him with tired eyes. "Thank you, human. You have given us a chance. Now I must give you one as well. I will help you fight your war, but you must help me find 3 things. 3 keys scattered across the galaxy. Only with these keys can this seal be safely removed. Without them, if you try to free me, the explosion will destroy your entire solar system." Jake felt his blood run cold. "What are these keys?" "Where are they?" Lyra smiled. It was a sad smile. "That is the problem. I do not know. They were hidden by my sister when she imprisoned me. But I know someone who might have the answers. The Crawl." They have been searching for these keys for a very long time. If we follow them, we will find what we seek. Jake sat down hard on a crate. He had come seeking a weapon. Instead, he had found an imprisoned princess, a dragon, and a mystery that could either save Earth or destroy it. Outside the viewport, stars streaked past as the Valiant jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the ancient station burned, and somewhere in the darkness, the Crawl Empire stirred. They knew something had been taken from that station. They would come hunting. The war was about to change, and Jake had no idea if that change would save his people or doom them all. The Valiant shook violently as something massive slammed into its shields. Jake gripped the command chair and shouted orders to his crew, all power to rear shields, evasive pattern Delta. Amy Carter worked the weapons console with flying fingers. "Sir, those things followed us through hyperspace. I did not think that was possible. Nothing should be able to track a ship through hyperspace." Jake looked at the tactical display. 3 massive shapes pursued them through the void. They were the Wardens, the same machines that had tried to stop them at the station. Somehow they had locked onto the Valiant and followed it across light years. In the cargo hold, Lyra struggled to her feet. Ember growled and shifted his bulk. The dragon did not like being confined to the small space. Lyra placed a hand on his scaled, snout-patience old friend. "We will be free to fly soon enough." She made her way through the ship corridors. Human crew members pressed themselves against the walls as she passed. They stared at her with fear and wonder. She could not blame them. To them, she must seem like something from a dream or a nightmare. Lyra reached the bridge just as another impact rocked the ship. Jake turned to face her. "Can you stop those things?" Lyra moved to the viewport and looked out at the pursuing Wardens. Her expression was grim. "They are bound to me. They will not stop until I am returned to my prison or they are destroyed, but I cannot fight them at full strength. Not with this seal. Each time I use my power, it drains my life force. The seal was designed to make me suffer, to make every moment of freedom painful." She pressed her hand against the crystal embedded in her chest. Jake saw her wince. "How much power do you have?" Lyra met his eyes. "Enough for one more fight, maybe 2. After that I will need to rest or the seal will put me into a coma." Jake made his decision quickly. "Then we make this fight count. Amy, plot a course to the nearest asteroid field. We will use the rocks for cover." Lyra shook her head. "No, take us deeper into open space. Give Ember room to move. Trust me, Captain. Your ship cannot outmaneuver the Wardens, but my dragon can." Jake hesitated for only a moment. Then he nodded. "You heard her. Take us to open space." The Valiant changed course. Behind them, the Wardens followed like patient death. Minutes later, they entered a vast, empty region between star systems. Nothing but darkness and distant stars in every direction. Lyra returned to the cargo hold. Ember was waiting. His golden eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Are you ready, my friend?" The dragon did not speak, but Lyra felt his response in her mind. Always. She climbed onto his back and settled between his great wings. Jake's voice came over the intercom, opening cargo doors. "Now! Good luck!" The massive doors split apart. Air rushed out into vacuum. Ember launched himself into space with a roar that no one should have been able to hear, but everyone on the Valiant heard it anyway. It echoed through their minds like thunder. The dragon flew through the void as easily as he would fly through air. His wings moved, and somehow it propelled him forward despite there being nothing to push against. Magic. Jake thought again. It has to be magic. The 3 Wardens turned to face Ember. They were each as large as the Valiant. Their bodies were covered in those same glowing runes. Weapons extended from their frames. Beams of red energy lanced out toward the dragon. Ember twisted in mid-flight. The beams missed by inches. He opened his jaws and unleashed his fire. The flames burned blue, white, and cold. One warden was consumed instantly. Its metal body froze solid, then shattered into 1,000 pieces. The other two wardens adapted quickly. They split apart. One went high, one went low. They were trying to catch Ember in a crossfire, but Lyra was ready. She whispered commands in that ancient language. Runes flared to life along Ember scales. The dragon became a blur of motion. He phased through one attack, dodged another. His claws raked across a warden hull. The metal tore like paper. Inside the ship, Jake and his crew watched in awe. Lieutenant Amy Carter stood with her mouth open. "Sir, are we really seeing this? A dragon fighting in space?" Jake could not look away. "Yes, Lieutenant. We are seeing it, and we need to remember every detail, because when we get back to Earth, nobody will believe us." Ember caught one warden in his jaws. He bit down hard. The machine tried to fight back. Energy weapons fired point blank into the dragon face, but Ember did not let go. He shook the warden like a dog shaking a toy, then he breathed fire directly into its core. The warden exploded. The blast wave hit Ember and sent him spinning. Lyra held on tight. Blood ran from her nose again. The seal on her chest was glowing so bright it hurt to look at. One warden remained. It was the largest of the three, and it seemed to learn from watching its companions die. It did not attack directly. Instead, it began to circle, waiting for an opening. Lyra felt her strength fading. Every moment in this fight drained her. The seal was doing its job. It was killing her slowly, but she had made a promise. She would help these humans, and she would not break that promise. Ember felt her weakening through their bond. The dragon turned his attention fully on the last warden. His eyes blazed with ancient fury. No one hurts his partner. No one. He flew straight at the warden with incredible speed. The machine fired everything it had: beams of energy missiles, physical projectiles. Ember phased through them all. His body became partially transparent. The attacks passed through him without effect. Then he became solid again, right in front of the warden. His claws glowed with the same blue-white fire. He struck once, twice, 3 times. Each blow tore massive chunks from the warden body. The machine tried to retreat, but Ember was faster. He wrapped his body around the warden. His wings folded in his tail, coiled tight. Then he squeezed. The warden metal frame groaned. It buckled. It collapsed inward. Finally, it exploded. Ember released it and flew back toward the Valiant. Lyra slumped forward on his back. Her eyes were closed. Blood stained her armor. The seal on her chest pulsed with dark, satisfied light. It had taken its payment for her victory. Inside the cargo hold, medics waited. Ember landed gently and lowered himself so they could reach Lyra. She was barely conscious. Jake ran down from the bridge. "Is she alive?" The head medic. Lisa Grant nodded. "Yes, but her vital signs are all wrong. Her body temperature is too low. Her heart rate is too slow. It's like she is shutting down." Jake looked at Ember. The dragon stared back at him. For a moment, Jake thought he saw sadness in those golden eyes. Then Lyra stirred. She opened her eyes halfway. "Did we win?" Jake knelt beside her. "Yes, the wardens are destroyed. You won." Lyra smiled weakly. "Good. Then we can continue." The first key. It is on a frozen moon. In the Vega system. The Krall have been excavating there for months. We must reach it before they find it. If they destroy it, I will never be free. Jake took her hand. It was cold as ice. "Rest first. We will get you to the medical bay." Lyra shook her head. "No time, every moment I rest. The seal grows stronger. It adapts. It learns. We must move quickly." She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Ember caught her with his snout. The dragon made a low, rumbling sound. It sounded almost like concern. Jake made a decision. "Lisa, stay with her. Keep her stable." Amy set. "Course for the Vega system, maximum speed. The rest of you back to your stations. We have a key to find." As the crew scattered, Lyra grabbed Jake's arm. "Thank you for trusting me." "Captain." "Most would not. Most would see this seal and assume I deserve my punishment." Jake met her eyes. "You saved your people when you freed us from that station. Anyone willing to fight that hard for strangers cannot be evil, whatever crime you were punished for. I think your sister was wrong. Lyra, eyes filled with tears. She blinked them away quickly. You do not know what I did. I betrayed my entire civilization. I helped a species escape that my people had sentenced to death. They were innocent. But our laws did not care. I chose mercy over duty, and this seal is my reward. Jake squeezed her hand. Then I am glad you made that choice, because mercy is exactly what we need right now. Earth needs mercy, my crew needs mercy, and maybe you need mercy too. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Perhaps I do. Perhaps we all do. She closed her eyes and let herself rest. Ember curled around her protectively. The dragon would not sleep. He would watch over Lyra as he had done for 800 years. Jake returned to the bridge. The Valiant streaked through space toward the Vega system. Behind them, the debris of the Wardens drifted in the void. But Jake knew this was only the beginning. The Crawl would know by now that something had happened. They would send ships, and when they arrived, the real war would begin. On the medical bay floor, Lyra dreamed of her home world, of her sister Kira, of the moment when everything changed. In her dream, she stood before the eternal court. Kira sat on the throne of judgment. Her sister's face was cold and beautiful and merciless. You have committed the greatest crime, Lyra. You have shown mercy to those beneath us. For this you will be sealed away. You will watch the ages pass. You will feel every moment of your imprisonment. And you will learn that mercy is weakness. Lyra had looked at her sister and said something then. Something that made Kira's face twist with rage. But in the dream, Lyra could not remember what she had said. The memory was locked away, hidden even from herself. She woke with a gasp. Ember rumbled soothingly. Jake stood nearby. We are approaching Vega. Lyra forced herself to stand. Then let us finish this. The second battle awaits. The frozen moon of Vega. 7 hung in space like a blue-white pearl. Its surface was covered in ice that had not melted in a million years, and somewhere beneath that ice was the first key. Jake Morrison studied the tactical display on the Valiant Bridge. Multiple Kral ships orbited the moon. Their crystalline hulls reflected the light from Vega like deadly prisms. There were at least 20 of them. Some were small fighters, others were massive cruisers that could destroy the Valiant with a single shot. We are outnumbered, Amy Carter said quietly. Jake nodded. Yes, we are, but we have something they do not, a dragon and a very angry princess. Behind him, Lyra stood with one hand resting on Ember's neck. The dragon had shrunk himself again to fit on the bridge. His eyes never left the tactical display. I can feel it. Lyra said, the key is calling to me. It knows I am near. She pointed at the display. There, deep beneath the northern ice shelf. The Crawl are digging. In the wrong place. They are searching 5 miles to the south. Then we have a chance, Jake said. If we can reach the surface before they detect us. Lyra shook her head. They will detect us the moment we enter orbit. The Kral have sensors that can track life signs from space, and my energy signature is very distinct. I am like a beacon to them. Then how do we get down there? Lyra smiled. It was not a kind smile. We do not hide, we attack, Ember. Growled his agreement. The sound made the hull vibrate. Jake looked at his crew. They were afraid he could see it in their eyes, but they trusted him, and he had to trust Lyra. All hands to battle stations. Prepare for combat insertion. This is not going to be subtle. The Valiant dropped out of high orbit. Alarms immediately blared on every Kral ship. The crystalline warriors scrambled to their weapons. 3 fighters launched from the nearest cruiser. They moved fast, faster than any human ship could match, but they were not ready for Ember. The dragon burst from the valiant cargo bay. He had grown to his full size again. His wings spread wide enough to cast shadows on the moon below. The crawl fighters opened fire. Energy beams cut through space. Ember twisted and dove. His body moved like liquid. The beams missed. He opened his jaws and breathed fire. One fighter evaporated, the other two scattered, but Ember was already moving. His claws raked across the hull of one fighter. It split apart like rotten fruit. The third fighter tried to retreat. Ember caught it with his tail. One casual swipe sent it tumbling into Vega atmosphere. It burned on entry inside the Valiant. Jake ordered evasive maneuvers. Two crawl cruisers were moving to intercept. "We cannot fight them. Head on," Amy said. "Their weapons will tear us apart." Jake knew she was right, but he also knew they did not have to win. They just had to survive long enough to reach the surface. All power to shields, Lisa. "I need you to find us a landing zone near those coordinates Lyra gave us." Lisa Grant worked frantically at her station. "Sir, there is a canyon system. If we go in low, the canyon walls might block their weapons. Do it." The Valiant dove toward the moon. Behind them, the crawl cruisers followed. Their weapons blazed. Energy beams struck the Valiant shields. The ship shook hard. Sparks flew from overloaded systems. Amy returned fire with everything they had. It was like throwing stones at a mountain. The Krall armor absorbed the hits without damage. Then Lyra stepped forward. She raised both hands. Runes flared to life all over her body. The seal on her chest burned like a dark star. She spoke a single word. The word had power. It bent the air. It made reality shiver. A wave of force erupted from the Valiant. It hit both cruisers at once. Their shields flickered. Their weapons went offline. For just a moment, they were vulnerable. That moment was all Ember needed. The dragon flew between the two massive ships. His fire burned away their sensor arrays. His claws tore open hull plating. His tail smashed through their engines. The cruisers began to drift. They were not destroyed, but they were crippled. Lyra collapsed to her knees. Blood poured from her nose and ears. The seal on her chest was glowing so bright it lit up the entire bridge. Jake ran to her side. "You need to stop. You are killing yourself." Lyra looked up at him with eyes that were more purple flame than human. "I will die anyway, Captain. The seal ensures that at least this way my death has meaning. Get your crew to the surface. Find the key. I will rest when we are done." The Valiant entered the canyon system. The walls were ice and ancient stone. They rose thousands of feet on either side. More crawl ships tried to follow, but the canyon was too narrow. They could not maneuver. Several crashed into the walls. The others were forced to pull back. Jake brought the Valiant down hard. The landing struts hit ice and scraped for 100 yards before the ship stopped. Everyone on board was thrown forward. When the shaking stopped, Jake stood and checked his crew. Everyone alive. His crew called out one by one, all present, all functional, ready to move. Jake grabbed his cold weather gear. "Amy, Lisa, you are with me. Everyone else secure the ship. Ember cannot fit through these corridors, so he will provide air support." Lyra tried to stand, but her legs would not hold her. Jake knelt beside her. "You need to stay here," the dragon rumbled. A voice filled Jake's mind. It was deep and ancient, and carried the weight of ages. "I will go. She must rest. But the key requires her presence. Then I will carry her." Jake blinked. That was the first time Ember had spoken directly to him. The dragon intelligence was overwhelming. "Thank you." Ember nodded his massive head. "She is my soul, I am hers. Where she goes, I go. What threatens her threatens me. Your species understands loyalty. That is rare. I think I like humans." Jake felt a strange warmth at those words. "Then let's not disappoint you." The team moved out into the frozen canyon. The temperature was minus 100 degrees. Even with their suits, Jake could feel the cold trying to reach his bones. Ember landed beside them. Lyra was draped across his back. She was conscious, but barely. Which way? Jake checked his scanner. North 2 miles. Then down about 500 feet, there should be a cave system. Ember took the lead. His breath melted ice wherever it landed. The team followed. Behind them, they could hear more crawl ships landing. They were being pursued. Amy kept looking back. "Sir, they are going to catch us before we reach the caves. Just keep moving. If they catch us, Ember will handle them." Minutes stretched into an hour. The canyon seemed endless. Finally, they found it, a massive opening in the ice. It led down into darkness. Jake shone his light into the depths. There were stairs carved from ice and stone. They spiraled down into the moon core. "Who built this?" Amy whispered. Lyra answered from Ember back. Her voice was weak. "My people, the Etherwind. We hid the keys across the galaxy. My sister wanted to ensure I could never be free, but she also wanted to ensure that if I ever did escape, I would have to work for it. She thinks suffering builds character." The team descended into the caves. It took another hour. The temperature dropped even further. Jake thought he would freeze solid. Then they emerged into a chamber. It was vast and beautiful. The walls were covered in glowing crystals. In the center of the chamber was a pillar of light, and floating in that light was the key. It was a small object, no bigger than Jake's fist. It looked like a crystal sphere with a star trapped inside. Lyra slid from Ember back. She stumbled toward the key. Her hand reached out. The moment she touched it, the key flared. Light filled the chamber. Lyra gasped. The seal on her chest cracked just a little, but enough she could feel her power returning, not all of it. Maybe 1/10, but it was something. The key merged with the seal. Runes rearranged themselves. Lyra stood straighter, her eyes cleared. She took a deep breath and it did not hurt. "Thank you." She turned to Jake. "I am stronger now, not whole but stronger. We must find the second key. There are 2 more. One in Kral territory. One in a place even I cannot see. But first we must survive this day, because the Kral have found us, and they have brought their war. Prophet." The chamber shook. Something massive was approaching from above. Jake looked up. Through the ice he could see a shadow. It was huge, larger than any ship. Then it broke through. A Kiral war beast landed in the chamber. It was crystalline like its masters, but it was alive, a creature made of living crystal and rage. On its back rode a figure in black armor. The armor was covered in trophies, human skulls, alien bones, fragments of conquered civilizations. The figure removed its helmet. The face beneath was crystalline, sharp and beautiful and cruel. "I am War Prophet Zekthar, and you have stolen something that belongs to my masters. The elf woman is a treasure we have sought for centuries. Return her and I will kill you quickly. Refuse and I will make your deaths last for days." Lyra stepped forward. "I belong to no one. I am not a treasure to be owned. I am Lyra of Etherwind, last daughter of a fallen empire, and I will never surrender." Zekthar laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. "Then you will die." The war beast roared and charged. Ember met it head-on. The 2 massive creatures collided with a sound like mountains falling. Crystal against scale, fire against ice, ancient fury against modern rage. Lyra raised her hands. Power flowed through her more than before. The key had restored some of what was taken. She sent bolts of force at Zekthar. He deflected them with his sword, but she was relentless. Jake and his team opened fire on the Kral soldiers that poured into the chamber. There were dozens of them. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Amy took a shot to the shoulder. She went down hard. Lisa dragged her behind cover. Jake kept firing. He saw Ember tear the war beast throat out. Crystal blood sprayed across the chamber. The beast collapsed. But Zekthar was still standing. He was dueling Lyra. She was faster than him, stronger than him. But she was also holding back. Jake saw it. Every time she could have killed him, she hesitated. Her mercy again, even against an enemy who deserved none. Then Amy screamed. A Kral soldier had found their hiding spot. The crystalline warrior raised his weapon. He was going to kill Lisa. Something snapped inside Lyra. For just a moment, she stopped holding back. The seal on her chest cracked wider. Light poured from her pure elemental force. She pointed at Zekthar. What erupted from her hand was not fire or lightning. It was creation itself, raw power that rewrote reality. Zekthar was unmade. His armor shattered, his body dissolved. Every Kraul soldier in the chamber fell. Outside the cave, the ice came alive. Ancient forests that had been frozen for eons suddenly bloomed. Green life spread across the dead moon. For 30 seconds, Vega 7 lived. Then the power faded. The forests died. The ice returned and Lyra collapsed. Blood poured from her mouth. The seal had taken its price. Jake caught her before she hit the ground. She was shaking. Her eyes were unfocused. "Too much," she whispered. "I used too much." The seal almost stopped my heart. Jake held her. "You saved us." Lyra smiled. It was a sad, broken smile. "Yes, but at what cost? How many more times can I do this? How many more times before the seal wins?" Jake had no answer. He just held her while Ember keened in sorrow. 3 days passed before Lyra woke. She opened her eyes in the medical bay of the Valiant and for a moment did not know where she was. Then memory returned. The battle. The key. The price she had paid. Ember lay beside her bed. The dragon had somehow compressed himself small enough to fit in the room. When her eyes opened, his head lifted. His golden gaze met hers. "You frightened me." His voice filled her mind. I thought the seal had finally won. Lyra reached out and touched his snout. "Not yet, old friend, but soon. The seal is adapting faster now. Every time I use power, it learns it grows stronger. How many more fights do I have left?" Ember was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised her. "More than you think, less than you hope, but enough for what enough to matter." Jake entered the medical bay. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes. "You are awake. Good. We need to talk." He sat down in the chair beside her bed. "While you were unconscious, we analyzed the first key. Our scientists found something data encoded in the crystal information about the second key." Lyra sat up slowly. Her body ached, but the pain was manageable. "Where is it?" Jake's face was grim. "Kraul Prime, the homeworld of the Kraul Empire. It's the most heavily defended planet in their territory. Going there is suicide." Lyra closed her eyes. She had feared this. Of course, her sister would hide a key in the most dangerous place possible. "How long do we have?" Jake checked his data pad. "Our medical scans show that the seal is still adapting. At current rate, you have maybe 10 days before it reaches critical threshold. After that, you will fall into a coma. And according to the data we pulled from the key, that coma will be permanent. 10 days. Lyra opened her eyes. "Then we do not have time to plan. We go now. We go fast and we pray to whatever gods still listen that we survive." Over the next 2 days, the Valiant traveled deep into Kraul space. They used every stealth system they had. They flew through nebulas and asteroid fields, anything to avoid detection. But Lyra knew they would be found eventually. The Kraul were searching for her. She was too valuable to let escape. On the 3rd day, they reached Kraul Prime. The planet was beautiful in a terrible way. Its surface was covered in crystal cities that rose like frozen fire. Thousands of ships orbited in perfect formation. Defense platforms bristled with weapons. Jake stared at the tactical display. "There is no way through that. Even with Ember, we cannot fight an entire planet." Lyra studied the data. "There is always a way. The second key is located beneath the capital city, in a vault that predates the Kraul civilization. My people built it there for a reason. The Kraul do not know what they guard. They think it is just another ancient ruin. If we can reach the surface, we can slip into the vault unseen." "And how do we reach the surface?" Lyra looked at Ember. The dragon knew what she was thinking. He did not like it, but he nodded. "We make a deal with my sister." Jake stared at her. "What you want to negotiate with the person who imprisoned you?" Lyra stood. Her legs were steadier now. The first key had healed some of her damage. I do not want to. But I need to. Kira is the eternal judge. She has authority over the kraal. If I can convince her to grant us safe passage, she must honor it. And if she refuses, then we fight. And we probably die. But at least we will have tried. Jake did not like this plan. He could see a dozen ways it could go wrong, but he also knew they had no choice. 10 days was not enough time to come up with something better. How do we contact her? Lyra smiled. It was not a happy smile. She has been watching us this entire time. All I have to do is call. She raised her hand. Runes flared along her arm. She spoke a name in that ancient language, Kira. The name echoed through dimensions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then light filled the bridge. Pure white light that hurt to look at. The light condensed, took shape, became a woman. She was beautiful beyond description. Her features were similar to Lyra, but colder. Perfect. Her eyes were chips of ice. Her armor was made from solidified starlight. She looked at Lyra with an expression that might have been pity or contempt. Sister. Her voice was like wind over glaciers. You have been busy breaking your prison, stealing the first key, killing my servants. Lyra met her gaze. They were not your servants. Kira, they were my jailers, and I have every right to escape an unjust punishment. Kira laughed. It was a beautiful, horrible sound. Unjust? You committed treason. You helped lesser beings escape their rightful fate. You showed mercy when duty demanded strength. That is not injustice. That is consequence. Lyra took a step forward. You made showing mercy a crime. When did our people become so cruel? When did we decide that compassion was weakness? Kira's expression hardened. When we learned that mercy leads to chaos, the beings you saved went on to cause great suffering. If we had eliminated them as planned, millions would have been spared. Your mercy killed more than it saved. Lyra flinched. She had not known that, but she forced herself to stay strong. Even if that is true, it does not justify eternal imprisonment. I deserve a chance to prove myself, to earn my freedom. Kira studied her sister for a long moment. Then she looked at Jake. And who are you, human? Jake stepped forward. Captain Jake Morrison. We need safe passage to your vault on Kraal Prime. In exchange, we offer information. Kira raised an eyebrow. Information. What could humans possibly know that interests me? Jake took a breath. We know about the third key. We know where it is, and we know that you have been searching for it for 800 years. Kira went very still. You are lying! Jake shook his head. The first key contained data, hidden in layers your people could not access, but our AI found it. We know the third key is not in this dimension. It exists in a place between realities, and only Lyra can reach it. Is that not why you hid it there? To make sure she could never be free, even if she found the first two keys? Kira's face showed nothing. But Lyra knew her sister, and she could see the truth. Jake was right. Tell me where the third key is, and I will grant you safe passage. Jake smiled. No. First, you let us reach the second key. Then we discuss the third. Kira's rage erupted. Light blazed around her. The bridge shook. How dare you bargain with me? I am the eternal judge. I could destroy your ship with a thought. Lyra stepped between them, but you will not, because you want to know where the third key is, and because despite everything, you still love me, even if you will never admit it. Kira's rage faded. For just a moment, her mask slipped. Lyra saw pain in her sister's eyes, pain and regret, and something that might have been longing. Fine, she said coldly. You have 12 hours. Reach the vault, retrieve the second key. Then we will discuss the third. But know this, sister, if you try to trick me, I will release something that will make the wardens look gentle. I will unleash the Unmaker, and it will consume your precious earth before you can blink. The light faded. Kira was gone. Jake let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Did that just work? Did we actually bargain with a god? Lyra sat down hard. Kira is not a god. She is just very old and very powerful and very hurt. Jake looked at her. "What happened between you two?" Lyra was quiet for a long moment. "I was supposed to be the eternal judge. It was my birthright, but I gave it up. I chose mercy over duty, and Kira took the position in my place. She has spent 800 years trying to prove she was the right choice, that mercy is weakness, that I was wrong. But deep down, I think she knows the truth. She knows I was right, and that terrifies her. Because if I was right, then everything she has done, every life she has taken in the name of justice, all of it was wrong." Jake understood. Then this was not just about punishment. This was about two sisters who loved each other and who had chosen different paths and who could never forgive each other for it. The Valiant descended toward Kral Prime. True to her word, Kira had cleared their path. No ships intercepted them. No weapons fired. They landed in the Crystal City without incident. Jake led a small team into the ruins beneath the capital. Lyra and Ember came with them. The vault was ancient, older than the Kral civilization by thousands of years. It had been built by the Etherwind, and it recognized Lyra. The doors opened at her touch. Inside was the second key. It was identical to the first, a crystal sphere with a star trapped inside. Lyra took it. The moment she touched it, her body blazed with light. The second key merged with the first. The seal on her chest cracked wider. Power flooded through her. She gasped at the sensation. It was like being able to breathe again after drowning, but she also knew the danger. The seal was still there, still active. If she used too much power, it would punish her. She was stronger now, but not free. Not yet. They returned to the Valiant. As they lifted off, Kira appeared again. Her projection filled the bridge. "Now tell me where the third key is." Jake looked at Lyra. She nodded. He turned back to Kira. "The third key is not in a place. It is inside Lyra. It has been inside her all along. Her own heart, crystallized and sealed away by you." Kira's face showed nothing, but Lyra saw the truth. Her sister had known. She had always known. "You sealed my heart," Lyra whispered. "You took the very core of who I am and you locked it away." Why, Kira's voice was cold. "Because your heart was your weakness, your compassion, your mercy. I thought if I sealed it away, you would learn. You would become strong. But instead, you just—" She stopped for the first time in 800 years. Kira's voice broke. "You just suffered, and I watched. And I told myself it was justice. But it was not. It was cruelty. And I am sorry." Lyra stared at her sister. Those were words she never thought she would hear. But before she could respond, Kira's face hardened again. "But sorry is not enough. The seal cannot be removed safely. Not anymore. It has been active too long. If we try to free you now, the explosion will destroy everything within a light year, including Earth. There is only one way." Lyra already knew. She had known from the beginning. "I must die and be reborn. The seal must be destroyed from within, and only I can do it. But I cannot survive that. No one can." Kira nodded. "Yes. So you have a choice, sister. Live in chains or die free." Lyra looked at Jake, at his crew, at the planet Earth hanging in the distance. She thought about the species who needed hope, who needed someone to fight for them. She thought about Ember, her oldest friend, her soul. And she made her choice. "I choose freedom. Even if it kills me, I choose to be free." The Unmaker arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system on the 7th day. It was not a ship. It was not a weapon in any traditional sense. It was absence. A hole in reality. Where it moved, stars went dark. Planets simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, erased, as if they had never been. Jake watched the tactical display with growing horror. The outer colonies were gone. Mars went silent mid-transmission. Jupiter moons blinked out one by one. Earth had 3 days at most, maybe less. Lyra stood at the viewport of the Valiant. She had removed her armor. Beneath it, her body was covered in runes. The seal on her chest pulsed with dark light. Every inch of her skin bore the marks of her imprisonment. She was not just sealed. She was the seal. Kira had not just locked away her heart. She had turned Lyra's entire being into a prison. "It is beautiful in a terrible way," Lyra said quietly. "My sister, greatest work. A weapon that consumes everything, even itself eventually. But before it dies, it will take your world with it." Jake stood beside her. "Then we stop it. You go in, you face it, you destroy it from the inside, just like you planned." Lyra turned to look at him. Her violet eyes were sad. "You understand what that means. I will not survive. The energy required to unmake the unmaker is the same energy that keeps me alive. When I use it, I will die." Jake felt his throat tighten. He had known this woman for less than 2 weeks, but in that time she had become something important. Someone worth fighting for. Is there really no other way? Lyra smiled. It was a gentle smile, full of acceptance. "There is always another way. I could let Earth die. I could flee to the edges of the galaxy. I could live in chains for another 800 years. But that is not living. That is just existing. And I am tired of merely existing." She looked back at the viewport. "Besides, your species showed me something I had forgotten. Mercy is not weakness. Compassion is not foolish. Sometimes the strongest choice is to sacrifice yourself so others can live. My people forgot that, but you humans remember. And that makes you more worthy of survival than my entire civilization ever was." Ember entered the bridge. The dragon had been quiet since Kira revelation. Now he moved to Lyra's side. His golden eyes met hers. "I will not let you go alone. Where you go, I follow. Always." Lyra placed her hand on his snout. "I know, old friend, and I would not want to face this without you. We have been together for 800 years. We will face the end together too." Jake cleared his throat. "So what is the plan?" Lyra pulled up a holographic display. "The Unmaker core is here, deep within the darkness. To reach it, we must fly directly into the void. Your ship cannot survive, that the Unmaker will consume it instantly. But Ember can protect us. His fire is creation, the opposite of the Unmaker destruction. If he burns at full strength, he can carve a path through the darkness, long enough for me to reach the core, and then I release everything, all my power, everything the seal has contained for 8 centuries. The explosion will destroy the Unmaker from within, but it will also destroy me, and possibly Ember, and possibly the Valiant, if you are too close, so you need to stay back." Jake shook his head. "No, we are coming with you, as close as we can get. You saved our world. The least we can do is witness your sacrifice." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, then she nodded. "Thank you, Captain. That means more than you know." The Valiant launched toward the Unmaker. Behind them, Earth Defense Fleet followed at a distance. They could do nothing to help, but they would bear witness. As the ship approached the darkness, Jake felt reality begin to bend. His instruments went haywire. The laws of physics stopped making sense. Time moved slower, then faster. Space folded in on itself. "This is the edge," Lyra said. "Beyond this point, there is no return. Ember, are you ready?" The dragon roared. His voice shook the ship. He had grown to his full size outside the hull. His wings spread wide enough to eclipse small moons. Fire blazed along his body. Blue-white flames that burned with the heat of newborn stars. The dragon flew into the darkness, and the Unmaker noticed tendrils of void reached out. They tried to grasp Ember to consume him, but his flames burned them away. Each tendril that touched his fire simply ceased its attack. The dragon was a torch in absolute darkness, and behind him the Valiant followed Jake. White-knuckled the controls, sweat poured down his face. The ship hull was groaning. Alarms blared on every console. They were not built for this. No ship was, but they held together. Somehow they held together. Minutes felt like hours. The darkness pressed in from all sides. Jake could feel it trying to erase him, to make him forget he had ever existed. Then Lyra's voice cut through the fear. "I see it. The core, dead ahead." Jake looked through the viewport. At first he saw nothing. Then his eyes adjusted and he saw it, a heart of crystalline light pulsing, waiting. It was beautiful. It was terrible. It was his sister, greatest achievement. Kira had created the Unmaker to guard Lyra's prison, to ensure that if anyone tried to free her, they would pay the ultimate price. But she had also made it vulnerable, because deep down, Kira still loved her sister, and she had left a way for Lyra to stop it. Even if that way required Lyra's own death. Ember roared again. His flames burned brighter. He accelerated. The Valiant fell back. They could go no further. Jake watched as Lyra climbed onto Ember back. She turned one last time. Her violet eyes met his through the viewport. "Thank you, Jake Morrison, for trusting a stranger, for showing mercy when you had every reason to be afraid. Your species will do great things. I wish I could stay to see them." She placed her hand over her heart, over the seal. "Tell Earth something for me. Tell them that an ancient princess learned hope from them, and that hope is the greatest weapon of all." Then she turned away. Ember flew toward the core. The dragon and his rider disappeared into the brightness. Jake held his breath. The entire human fleet held their breath. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Then light explosion of pure creation. Lyra released everything. 800 years of sealed power. 800 years of compressed life force. 800 years of mercy and compassion and love that had been locked away. It erupted from her in a wave that rewrote reality. The Unmaker core shattered. The darkness began to collapse, but instead of consuming everything, it transformed. The void filled with light. Matter burst into existence. Stars were born in seconds. Planets condensed from cosmic dust. Life itself began to bloom in the space where death had reigned. At the center of it all, Jake saw two figures. Lyra was glowing. Her body was dissolving into pure energy. The seal on her chest had finally broken. She was free. For just a moment before the end, she was completely free, and beside her Ember burned. The dragon had grown even larger. His body was made of flame and starlight. His wings spread across dimensions. He was transforming too, becoming something more than physical, more than real. Then they were gone. Both of them dissolved into the newborn nebula. Jake felt tears on his face. He was not ashamed. Around him, his crew wept openly. In the space where the Unmaker had been, a new star system was forming. At its heart, a sun burned with unusual color, blue and white and violet dragonfire and princess light, mixed together forever. A voice filled Jake's mind. It was Ember, deep and ancient and sad, but also somehow content. "She is at peace. We both are. Take this gift, human. Use it well." Something materialized on the Valiant bridge. A crystal small enough to fit in. Jake, palm, but burning with inner fire, dragon flame, bound into physical form. "It will burn for 1,000 years, Ember voice said. "It will give your people unlimited energy, clean and endless. You sought a weapon. She gave you tools for peace instead. Remember her. Remember what she taught you. That mercy is not weakness, that compassion is not foolish, that sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when to sacrifice yourself for others." The voice faded. Jake held the crystal tight. Around him, space was returning to normal. The Unmaker was gone. Earth was safe. The war with the Crawl ended within days. Without Kira backing them, they had no reason to fight. They sued for peace immediately. Earth accepted, because Lyra had taught them that mercy was stronger than vengeance. In the weeks that followed, Jake learned the full truth. The race Lyra had saved 800 years ago still existed. They lived on a hidden world, small, peaceful beings who had built a civilization based on compassion. When they learned what Lyra had done, what she had sacrificed, they wept, and they built a monument, a statue of a woman with silver hair and a dragon with wings of flame. The inscription read simply, "She chose mercy, and mercy saved us all." Jake visited the monument once. He stood before it and remembered. He remembered violet eyes. He remembered a sad smile. He remembered a dragon who spoke with the voice of thunder. He remembered a princess who had been imprisoned for 8 centuries and who had died to save a species she barely knew. The crystal ember had given them powered Earth for generations. It sparked a golden age. Humanity spread across the stars, not as conquerors but as friends. They had learned from Lyra's example. And one day, far in the future, when humans reached the nebula where Lyra had died, they found something impossible. 2 beings of pure energy, a woman and a dragon, dancing through the stars, not dead, not alive, but something in between, existing in the spaces beyond reality, free at last, whole at last, together at last. Jake was an old man by then, but he piloted the ship himself. He flew as close as he dared, and he sent a message. Thank you for everything, for teaching us, for saving us, for showing us that weapons are not always tools of destruction. Sometimes they are tools of creation, sometimes they are people, and sometimes they are the simple choice to be kind, even when kindness costs everything. The energy beings that had been Lyra and Ember did not respond with words, but Jake felt something. A warmth, a sense of approval, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, his species had turned out all right. He smiled and he flew home to a world that had been saved by mercy, to a civilization that had learned compassion from an ancient princess, to a future bright with possibility. All because one man had chosen to trust a stranger and one woman had chosen to give everything so that others might live in the observation deck of the Valiant. Now a museum ship. A holographic recording played on loop. It showed Lyra and Ember in flight, free at last, disappearing into forever, and beneath it a small plaque, words that Jake had written himself. She came imprisoned. She left free. She was called a weapon, but she was so much more. She was hope. She was mercy. She was proof that the greatest power in the universe is not the ability to destroy, but the willingness to sacrifice, so others can live. Remember Lyra of Aetherwind. Remember Ember the Eternal. Remember that weapons are not always what they seem, and sometimes the thing you seek is not the thing you need, but if you are lucky, it is the thing that saves you. The end of one story, the beginning of another, and in the spaces between stars, 2 ancient souls danced, finally free, finally whole, finally home,